Hello, everybody. My name is Karyn Rudd. I am a certified TESOL and TEFL English teacher, teaching English to speakers of other languages. And joining us today is one of my students, Olga Gorbatova from Ukraine. I just love saying that, Olga Gorbatova. Olga has been a student of mine. This is our third year, right, Olga?
Yeah.
Yeah, we started our English lessons just about a month or two before the war in Ukraine. Is that correct?
No, 2 months after the war have started.
Or
Has
the war had
started.
already started.
It
Yes?
was in May.
Okay, okay. Well, you have a good memory. Your memory is better than mine. So we decided, actually, I asked Olga if she would be so kind to engage us in this interview, since I feel very strongly that it would be an interview that would be of great, would serve you, the viewer, and the English learner. It would serve you really, really well, because from my point of view, if Olga can do it, you can do it. Olga did it, and I know you're doing it too. So remember to subscribe, like, and share. So remember to click on the subscribe, become a subscriber, hit like and share, and please do leave a comment if you care. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear your thoughts about today's interview. So, Olga, when you first chose me as your teacher, could you tell us why you chose me as a teacher, number one? And number two, what was the reason that you wanted to take English lessons?
I remember that it was a period of desperate, and I decided to learn English. And I went to the website to find a teacher to myself. I wanted to find not a very young student, not of my age, because I know that only a teacher with many years of experience, only such a teacher can teach me well. And I found your profile. I had a small video shot with your introduction, and I really liked your pronunciation. You are a native speaker and you speak very um, fluently with no difficulties for foreigners to understand you. And your pronunciation was maybe one of the most valuable thing for me. That is why I decided to choose you like my teacher in future, and I have never regretted about it.
And so,
And
go ahead, Olga.
and the second question was uh, why did I decide to learn English? I
Yes,
forgot.
what was the reason you wanted to take English
What was
lessons?
the reason? I wanted to find a better job with better salary, with better team to grow. And I had a very bad English to find a good job. So that is why I decided to be a student, and thank God that a good teacher was found.
Thank you, Olga. You're very kind. Well, I'm so thrilled that you are still taking English today. And so, what were some of the greatest challenges when we started doing lessons together that you felt you had to face to get where you wanted to go? That is, to get the better paying job where you had to be fluent in English. what were some of the challenges of the English language that you felt could keep you from getting that better paying job? By the way, Olga finally got the better paying job, just to let you guys know, okay? So tell us, Olga, why you felt you needed to take English lessons, what you felt you were challenged by where the English language is concerned, that you needed, what obstacles you needed to overcome to get the better paying job which you have today. Congratulations.
Thank you, Karyn. That's all because of you.
Oh, well, you put in the work too. It's not just a teacher, you know that.
Yeah. I know that I was really afraid of our first lesson. I remember that I was afraid of a native speaker because I understood that my English language level was not high at all. And I was afraid that you wouldn't understand me and that I couldn't explain myself to you. And I remember that I even had a little tremble inside of me. And of course, making homework is a great challenge for me too, because nowadays we have we are living in a war, and sometimes it's very difficult even to do some daily routine. Uh, even and even my my English study makes me very. Sometimes it's very complicated for me to forget about air alerts, shootings, shellings, and so on. And this was also a very big problem for me. Not a problem, but it was difficult to understand. Do I need English or everything? But do we have future? You know, at the very beginning of the war, it was difficult to understand.
Well, what
But
I find most fascinating, Olga, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cross you. Maybe you could share with the learners and the learner, the viewer, the viewers, the followers, that I find it's absolutely incredible that you are living in a war. You're in Kyiv, the capital, are you not?
in Kiev.
Okay, so you live in Kyiv and a war is going on. And still, despite the war, you decided that I'm doing this. I'm studying English, I'm accomplishing my goals, and I'm getting my better paying job. So what kept you hopeful? What kept you going? Because sometimes, as language learners, I'm a language learner as well. I studied Spanish, French, and German. I'm now studying Turkish. And as English, or rather as language learners, we can very easily become discouraged just by the challenge of learning a new language. So what was it in your case? What inspired you to continue to study English despite the war? You were still hopeful. What was it? Or what is it still? Because it's a little over 2 years and you're still studying English, taking English lessons with me. So what is it, or what was it? And what is it still that keeps you going, that gives you hope?
From one point of view, our English lessons is like a kind of psychological therapy because I forget about war. I start thinking about English, about pronunciation, sentence building, and so on. And what keeps me, maybe Ukrainian people are strong enough, and my ability is my strong position is that we should believe in future. We must build our better future. And if to talk about personally about me, now I have a job where with a lot of foreigners, and I have to talk to them every day. And I want to be fluent in English. I want to understand them. I want them to understand my English, and I want to become better and better every day with the help of your lessons. So that is why I want to move forward and to become a better English speaking person.
Well, that's a great response, Olga. And I feel very strongly that this interview is going to inspire, hopefully, but I still feel very strongly that this interview will inspire other Ukrainians to learn a language or even learn the English language despite the war. You know, tomorrow is promised to none of us. The next moment is promised to none of us. So we don't know what the future holds for any of us. Some of us are privileged to know, but we don't all know. But at least we can still have hope. And as you said, you made a very, very key and important point. You said that you saw and still see these English lessons as a time of therapy. I'm so glad that despite the fears that you had, which were, oh my gosh, she's a native English speaker, she's a certified English teacher. I don't know what this is going to be like. I hope it works out, but you're very, very brave. They say the definition of, is it bravery? No, the definition of courage is being afraid to do something and still doing it anyway. And you are a classic example of that from my point of view. Hats off to you, Olga. So much courage. Not that you don't become afraid, but even though you're afraid, you're still doing it. You're still putting one foot in front of the other. And I feel what is really important, based on what you just shared, Olga, what we're saying to the viewer, what we're saying to you, the learner, the language learner, and the subscribers and the followers. And, you know, if you're coming across this video for the first time, please subscribe, like, and share, and leave a comment if you care. We would love to hear from you. Both Olga and I would. So what I'm saying is that despite Olga's fears, obvious, which are obvious, I mean, if you're living in a war, who wouldn't be afraid? But despite all of that, number one, she didn't allow her fear of speaking to native English speaker to keep her back. We hit it off. So it's important to find a teacher that you really have a connection with. Would you say that is true, Olga?
That's true. And I think that a big part of my good lessons is my English teacher, Karyn Rudd, because I know I really admire you like a person and like a teacher. Your websites and your different interesting programs that you give to me, it's something unbelievable. You always try to find a gap in my knowledge, and the next your step is to give different tasks to cover this gap, and you always try to do your best to make my knowledge better and better every hour lesson. Thank you very much for this, and thank you for your patience, because you always correct my pronunciation, my mistakes, not once, not twice, but every time. You are very patient and clever teacher, so thank you.
You're most welcome, Olga. It's my pleasure, and it has been my pleasure, and it continues to be my pleasure. And I feel, excuse me, in the profession of teaching and in any profession, excuse me, it's important to have passion, because it's the passion that drives us, isn't it? So, you know, we can generally tell when someone loves what they do. You know, they say, do what you love and you never work a day in your life. Love what you do. And do it with love and with passion and compassion, to have compassion for the learner. Because as an English learner myself, I understand how challenging learning another language is, that more than likely so different from your own. And so let Olga be an example of a person who overcomes their fears by having courage, which is being afraid to do something and doing it anyway. And Olga also, despite the war and the possibility of not seeing tomorrow, and again, that's for all of us because we don't know what tomorrow brings. Most of us don't know, as I mentioned. And Olga, you mentioned the English pronunciation. What did you find most challenging in the English language? Because I know for Ukrainians, as with other learners, certain pronunciations are really challenging. For example, one of the things I like to teach a lot, because I'm also a trained broadcaster, is the difference between the and the. So THE before a vowel or vowel sounding word, or the before a consonant. And I know up to this day, sometimes you still struggle with, let's see, what pronunciation is it you struggle with?
I always do mistakes with leave and live.
Right, leave and live, and
Eat,
it and eat,
eat.
right? So you have eat as in eaten food, and IT, which is it.
It's very complicated, but I try to read it correct and to spell it correct. But these are common problems for my pronunciation.
Yes, and so for Ukrainians, as with learners from many parts of the world, there are different areas where there would be struggles, inevitably so. However, it's so important for the teacher to keep stressing to the learner that where English is concerned, when communicating with native English speakers, or when going for the job of your choice, or going to the university program where you have to be fluent in English, or you have to be a C1 or C2 level, or you have to, or if you want to relocate to a native English speaking country, it's so important to be understood. It's very stressful and challenging for learners of the English language who are a C1 or C2 level fluent. They're fluent, but yet when they speak English, I can't understand you. I'm so sorry. And so a lot of it has to do with syllable stress, as we covered in our studies and our lessons, Olga, the difference between present, which is a verb, and the syllable stress goes on the first part of present, which is a gift, and then present, which is a noun. Sorry, I said a verb. Present, which is a noun, which is a gift, and the syllable stress is on the first part of the word, and then present, which is the verb, which means to give you something. So may I present this present to you? Yes. So all of these things are so challenging for English learners. And I just really admire, Olga, that despite all the challenges with the English pronunciation, that you're still going, that you're still doing it. Why? Tell the learners why you're still in there. This is year 3. This is your 3rd year of was it you or your boyfriend Yegor who mentioned that? I think your mom asked,
My
why
mom.
is it your mom, right? Your mom had asked, why are you still learning English? English language learning is a journey. It's not a destination.
Yes, yes.
What answer did you give her?
She said me, so you had been learning English for 2-3 years. Don't you know it? I said that it's the process was non-stop. Every lesson, every day, I have some new knowledge, some new words, new topics, interesting topics to describe, to communicate with my teacher. And like you said, it's like it's a journey. It's a big journey in English learning.
Exactly. And in the case of Ukraine, could you share with us, can you share with me, and could you share with the audience? Maybe you shared this with me before and I don't recall, but share with all of us, if you could, please, Olga, why is there such a need or demand for people in Ukraine to be able to be fluent in English? We're getting better paying jobs are concerned. Is it that a lot of companies have opened up branches in Ukraine? What's going on in Ukraine besides the war?
I know that those people who unfortunately left Ukraine, they have to learn English because they live abroad and they have to live somehow in foreign countries. So that is why it's important for them to know English. It's a worldwide language, and everyone in almost in every country, people can understand English. And for those people who bravely stay in Ukraine, it is important to know and to learn English because we have a lot of foreign companies here. If to talk about myself, we work with international humanitarian organizations, and all those people who are working for such organizations are from different countries. They came from all over the world to Kiev, not only to Kiev, but to different Ukrainian cities. And of course, the only language to speak with them is English. So that is why, if you want to have an interesting, good paid job, English is obligatory.
Yes. Well, they tell us that English is it's a worldwide language, and it's a language of business. And one of the things that I learned for my English certification, that is teaching English to speakers of other languages, TESOL and TEFL, was that however 150,000 new words are added to the English language every year. So if we, those of us rather, who are native English speakers are challenged by constantly encountering new words, especially if we read a lot, how do English learners manage? How do you manage? Tell the learners, tell the audience, tell everybody who's looking at this video right now, how do you add new words to your vocabulary arsenal, if you wish to use that expression? And how do you remember the words, Olga?
You have many interesting tasks for me to remember these words, and everything we do with you during the lesson. After the lesson, you give me an interesting home tasks, and they help me to remember these words again and again. If there is something very brand new for me, I took my notebook and put those words there. And if when I write the a new word, of course it's easy, yeah, and better to remember this new word. And if to use the new word in everyday life or during our lessons, it is much easier to remember it when you use it, when you talk using these words.
Yeah. So we have this and these, live and live and leave. You see how challenging the English language is? So we have live, we live at a residence. We leave to go somewhere. And this video is live for both of us. Of course, the audience will see the playback version. And then we have this, THIS, and these, THESE. So this, well, I can use this as an example, this glass, or these drinking glasses. one with water and one without. So again, it's so challenging for you, Olga, to remember to say this rather than these. I know what you're saying, but I'm highlighting it now for the viewer, for the learner, so that they can figure out, okay, so it's just practice. It's everyday practice, 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 because language learning is a journey. It's not a destination. And so we know, like, how do we get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. So it's a constant repetition, isn't it? Because as babies, we are constantly hearing the language, our native language, being spoken. However, it takes us so long to eventually be able to speak. So sometimes native or speakers of other languages become frustrated because they feel that they should speak very quickly. You know, we don't remember as human beings. We don't remember how long it took us to be able to speak. Now, of course, there are some very extraordinary people on the planet who speak very soon. However, for the majority of us, we listen as children, and then after some time, we start to speak. So I have found in teaching students over the years that some students get really frustrated because they feel that they should speak very, very soon. So what is your advice to the learner, Olga, when a student like that becomes frustrated? What would you say to that learner?
My strong advice is please go on, never give up, and go on and believe in yourself. Even if you are not so fluent like your other colleagues, friends, and relatives, and do not pay attention to someone. Just pay attention on your own, on yourself. Remember yourself 3 months ago. I'm sure that you are much stronger now than you were 3 months ago or even 1 month ago. Just compare yourself with your previous version of yourself. And of course, you are much stronger today than you were yesterday. And you may please imagine how brilliant you would be in 2 months, in 2 years. And the very important thing is to be is to practice every day, every week, not to forget about it, because only practice can make us more fluent. I
Well
think
said,
so.
Olga. That's a amazing answer. You've done brilliantly, really, really well in this interview. I know that you are nervous about doing it, but you've done really well. So what actually has happened with this recorded interview between us, I feel, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel that we're just being normal, that from time to time we have had lessons where it has just been conversation, just like this, just like this. And during the earlier part of the interview, you mentioned that you have seen these times when we met for lessons as therapy. I'm not a therapist, sorry. I am a medical massage therapist, but I'm not a psychologist or counselor or I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist is what the word I was looking for. But it really, really helps to have someone to listen to. And it has been really interesting from time to time when we've had our lessons together, depending on how I felt that you were feeling at that moment, even though I had planned what we were going to do in the lesson. However, because you're going through a war, I just felt tremendous compassion for your situation, of course, not knowing what it's like. I've never been through a war, pray to God never to be through a war, to live through one. But because of what you might have mentioned to me your day was like, or what it's been like, and whether or not there was shelling that night or the night before, you got very little sleep. I just really catered the lesson to your needs. And if I felt that you couldn't take like heavy duty grammar or something really intense, we would just talk just like this, where I would ask you, so how was your day? How was your night? How are things going? So it really, the payoff is being able to have a conversation with your teacher, who's a native English speaker and a certified English teacher, and just be able to talk. What does that feel like for you, Olga, to just be able to speak English with your teacher and be understood?
You know that it's priceless. I always thank you for these moments, and I like that you always feel your students' mood, and you know that I like that you understand that grammar, listening, comprehension, all these things are very important. But the students' mood, you always take care of me, and thank you for this. And of course, I'm proud of myself, and thank you that you helped with me with this. Now I may speak with you about almost everything I want or you want. We always talk to you about our lives, our some maybe traditional things, because we live in very different countries, and it is interesting for me to know something new about your country. Sometimes you ask me some historical or traditional things about Ukraine, and there is no some strict walls between of us, not the language obstacles, not cultural. So that is I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome, Olga. Well, I remember when you took a break, when you finally got the job of your choice, yay, congratulations again, where you had to be fluent, yay. And you took some time off from taking your English lessons, understandably so, because it was a new job and you wanted to get to know it and to be comfortable there and all of that. And you took some time away. And when you came back for lessons, there were some things that you had forgotten, which is only natural, because unless we are totally immersed in a language 24/7, 365, again, if we don't use it, we lose it. So you're getting back into the language and refilling the gaps that had reoccurred because of the lack of practice of especially speaking. You got back into it very, very quickly. So it's amazing how great the human brain is, that we can just get back into it, And as you mentioned, that we are in different countries, I feel very privileged to have met you and Yegor, to know both of you. Well, I've been teaching Yegor for a shorter period of time than I have been teaching you. However, that I have the privilege to know two Ukrainians who currently live in a country where a war is currently happening. And today's date, of course, is Easter Monday, Monday, the 1st of April, 2024. And I am in the Caribbean, in the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And we are native English speakers. We were under British rule for almost 200 years. We've been independent now, going on 62 years, August 31st of this year, 2024. And I'm saying the dates because if this is being viewed sometime in the future, how many years from now, if it's still around, if we're all still around, then people will get to see it and hopefully be able to benefit from it as well. And you also give me encouragement, Olga, as a language learner. I mean, I studied Spanish, French, and German when I was at school, but then I started studying Turkish a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago. And it's just so challenging for me because it's so different from Spanish, French, and German. Whereas Turkish is an agglutinative language, well, the English language is not. So an agglutinative language is a language that are suffixes, where suffixes are added to a word that changes the meaning of the word so dramatically. So one word this long could mean like 20 words in a sentence in the English language. So sometimes when I get discouraged because it's so very different from English, and again, native Turkish speakers find the English language very challenging as well, because English is not an agglutinative language, and they don't have articles either. A and an or the, they don't have those articles. And for he, she, it, they don't have he, she, it. So it's a whole different mindset, a whole different way of thinking. So what advice can you give to the learner as a Ukrainian in terms of thinking in English first rather than Ukrainian first? What does it take for that to happen?
Of course, at first you should know a good amount of English words, because if
The
you do not know,
vocabulary, right? Vocabulary.
yes, if your
Because
vocabulary,
I see many of the learners going like, oh, what's the English word for that again? You know?
if you do not know the vocabulary, of course, it will be very difficult for you to explain, to express yourself. And when you know enough words, it makes you more fluent in speaking, in thinking, and of course, practice. Practice makes us feel very fluent, and you are not afraid of those native speakers.
So it gives you confidence then. Would you say it gives you confidence?
Yes, yes, it
Yes.
makes you confident. Mm-hmm.
Because I've had so many students, I've taught so many students over the years, and the number one thing, if I had to pinpoint as a teacher of the English language, if somebody asked me from my point of view, what's the number one thing that students have the greatest challenge with where learning English is concerned, I would have to say confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence, because I have had students who have been at the C1 or C2 level, and they're literally terrified to speak. Terrified, you know?
I may say that you, like a teacher, you make me confident because every time I do some positive, every time you see some positive changes, you always say me the greatest words. And of course, I understand that my level is can be much better, but you always encourage me and you say that I'm great, that I'm super, and it makes me feel more confident.
Yeah.
And the second reason is speaking with another foreigners. When you see that people understand you, and when you understand them, uh, it makes you feel confident, one more time confident, and it makes you understand that all the things you do are not for, they are not lost. It's something that makes you more, help me, Karyn.
That's fantastic. That is so awesome, Olga.
It's
Go ahead.
you are getting better and better every day if you see these changes in yourself.
Yeah, it's amazing. As a learner, as a language learner myself, I understand exactly what you're talking about. And I'm sure you, the viewer, and all the viewers and the English learners and language learners in general understand this as well. It's nothing like feeling confident, like, oh, I'm finally getting it. Like after 3 years, I would say 3 years now, I've been learning the Turkish language, and I have a really, 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 really outstanding Turkish teacher. Finally, oh my God, it took a long time to get there. But he is just simply amazing. He's amazing, and just as you highlighted, Olga, he's always so complimentary. And I'm like, oh my God, I get that. I get that. So when my mom and I look at Turkish TV series and I hear Turkish being spoken, like say if I'm in a bathroom, my mom is looking at a Turkish TV show and I'm hearing the language being spoken, I was like, I understood that. I understood that. So I understand what you're saying when you talk about the compliments. It's so important to compliment and encourage someone and give credit where credit is due. Understand? I know that it took from this point to this point for you to get here, and it wasn't easy, but you did it anyway. Congratulations. Great job. It's so important to encourage, because when we give credit where credit is due, then people feel encouraged to continue. Yes. So as we are nearing the end of this interview, and once again, Olga, thank you so much for your time. This is actually your English lesson time that you have agreed to allow me to record us together. In wrapping up this interview, what would be your parting words? What would be your last words to share with the English learner or the language learner or viewer or subscriber or follower? What advice would you give to that person or those persons looking at this interview right now?
My advice, maybe at first, never give up. If you are not satisfied with your English level today, please be sure that with a good teacher, your English level will be better and better every day. And in 1 year, you will be much better than you are now today. And the second, I would like to tell to your subscribers that if you are looking for the best teacher, of course, do not hesitate and book lesson with Karyn, at least some trial lesson. You will this thing you at the very first lesson you will understand all the benefits from Karyn will be just for better for you, and in several months you will see the good results of yourself and you will be proud of yourself, because good teacher is a good part of your way of being a good English speaking person.
Well, I thank you so much, Olga. You're very, very kind. Thank you for your kind words. And I know that you mean them. I know you're not just saying that for the sake of saying them. I appreciate them highly. And given that we are 7 hours apart, so again, this could be a very different time that someone's looking at this, but yesterday was the 31st of March, which was the daylight savings time in Ukraine. So you all went forward by 1 hour. As they say, you sprung forward into spring. You sprung forward 1 hour. So we are now officially 7 hours apart. So it's 5 to 3 now. So which means it's almost 10 o'clock your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty late in Ukraine right now. In Trinidad and Tobago, we are 7 hours behind Ukraine with your time. So Olga, thank you so very, very much. You've been so kind and so gracious to allow this recording to happen. I do feel very strongly, and I do believe that this video is going to be a great inspiration for many who wish to learn a language, especially English, because again, English is the language of business worldwide. It's still the #1 language of business. And of course, the second is Spanish. And so there are many, many people who would like to take the step, are afraid to take the step. They don't know if they should, they don't know if they shouldn't. But again, I just want to express my great gratitude. I have been behind the camera, just putting out videos with just my voice. And I was going to do my hair and my makeup and being a professional makeup artist. And the day just whiled away, just flew by so quickly. And I said, well, you know what? Forget all of that. It's important to get the message out there. It's important for people to see that here is a Ukrainian in the middle of a war and has been taking English lessons with a native English speaker, certified English teacher for almost 3 years. And hats off to you, Olga. Good job. Great job, in fact. And so I just want to say to you, the viewer and the learner, please remember to subscribe, like, and share so that when more videos like this go up on YouTube, you will get the alerts and you'll be able to benefit from them as well. And please do remember to like and also to share this video to people worldwide around the globe so that people can really, really benefit from the information that is contained herein. And please do remember to leave a comment if you care. We would love to hear from you, Olga and I both. So once again, everybody, we thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, Olga. Yay, we did
Thank
it.
you, Karyn.
So thank you, everybody. So we'll see you again, hopefully sooner than later, the next video. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Karyn.
See you
Thank you.
soon.
Bye. See you.
Bye.